So, dear colleagues, we are so happy to greet you, and I hope you're back and you're carefully listening to us. And you've watched the previous sessions. We'll talk about digitalization, digital transformation. This is one of our key benchmarks. What actually is in this wording? What does it mean, and what can be done locally? Well, actually, what do the local inhabitants require? So this is the topic of this session. This session will take place for more than an hour, and Mariana Semenishin, the head of your Lead with Europe team, is about to moderate. Please do pick your channels. Thank you so much. I'm really happy to greet you at this discussion called the Digital Transformation at Local Level. So I just want to remind you of what Ms. Nina said. We will use two languages, Ukrainian and English. So please don't forget about the simultaneous interpretation. User instructions you'll get in the chat. Digital transformation is one of the key priorities of Ukrainian government, and it's clearly reflected in strategic documents, state strategy for regional development, association agreement between EU and Ukraine, state economic strategy, and also the plans of relevant ministries. But what does it mean for local level? What the communities should do to start that transformational way, that digitalization way? So we'll talk about various aspects. What are the key prerequisites for success, challenges of the process? So how to design the digital services for the citizens, together with the citizens, and we'll talk about the most innovative European trends, digitalization trends for the public sector. And today we have a wonderful company for you, a team of leaders, people who lead the digital transformation, also not in Ukraine. And for me, it's really pleasant to greet Valeria Ionan, the Deputy Minister of Digital Transformation. Valeria, thank you for joining. I'm happy to present Donat Magyari, our international expert affiliated with Europe program. And Mr. Viktor Hursky is with us as well, director of the NGO called Social Boost. And attention, we have certain change, and we have Mr. Alexander Dudchenko, Deputy Minister of Community and Territory Development of Ukraine. So he's responsible for digital transformation, of course, because we talk about digitalization. But before we actually start this discussion, I would like to ask our listeners and our viewers, and I would like to launch the discussion with you and ask the following. What do you associate the digitalization with? What is your personal association? So right now on the screen, you'll have this question and the QR code in the chat. You may actually use the link and answer the question. You'll have a couple of options to pick, and you can use adjectives, names even, verbs, nouns, services, whatever. Just put it there, a word or a couple. In a couple of minutes, we'll go back and we'll see what the audience does think about digital transformation. And of course, I will ask our experts here in our studio and Miss Valeria online whether we have certain compliance in this matter. And finally, let's start. I'd like to have Valeria Ionan, Deputy Minister of Digital Transformation. Please, Valeria, I pass the floor to you. Good afternoon. Thank you, Mariana. Thank you so much. I'd like to clarify regarding the presentation, if someone will help me with that. Okay. Your presentation is there. Wonderful. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. It's really a pleasure for me to stay with you here today, this super important event. Unfortunately, I can't join you offline, but it's the digitalization era, so it's pretty typical format for us to communicate. So quite briefly, I'll tell you about our activity, the ministerial activity in this area, what achievements we have, what plans we have, and just to set the tone and set the vector, let's say, for those who are interested in that matter. Now, please, the following slide. So the regional digital transformation is one of the areas of our intensive activity, and we really want each and every community, each and every town and city and village to manage the digital transformation autonomously. For their leaders to be visionaries and drivers of the process. Of course, for that, we need strong managers. That's why our ministry established new governmental position called CDTO, Chief Digital Transformation Officer. So basically, it's a deputy responsible for digital transformation. In 2020, such positions were in staff schedules in all the ministries, and from the end of 2020, we started presenting these positions at regional level. First of all, we speak about regions, regional administration, so deputy heads on digital transformation. If we speak about the key functions of these positions, I just want to know that primarily we speak about the basic digital infrastructure development, internet connection, administrative centers, paperless digital services, and also implementing such sectoral digital projects for healthcare, education, infrastructure, economy, and so on. And it's about simplifying the management with the use of digital document flow, analytics, big data dashboards, registry digitalization, and so on. Please, the following. So our aim in the ministry is to achieve the result for each community, for each town, for each region, to have the CDTO with one's own team. It's clear that at the level of region, it should be like a deputy head, and in the town, like a deputy mayor, or maybe a digital leader in the community, respectively. If we speak about digital leaders, they will perform the function of CDTO. They will become the key initiators of the processes for digital transformation in the community, and their task is to lead the process, follow the process in their communities from A to Z fully by establishing their teams, of course. And today, as of today, out of 25 CDTOs in regions, we have 14 appointed. We still want 4 other to be appointed. They are in the process, and we do hope that in 2022 we'll already have a good team of CDTOs, and in each town we'll get these as well. So our aim is to achieve the following. In 2022, for all this big team of CDTOs to start functioning properly around Ukraine. And next slide. So truly, we discuss the regional digital transformation, and it should be noted that we are backed by certain principles in our activity. For us, it's important to have analytics and high-quality data, because it's not a secret. In so many communities, we do have a big problem with the data. So right now, we do perform a lot of work on collecting the statistical data, additional research to be launched, and verification systems to be established, automatizing the data processing for better analysis and for effective decision-making. And we do understand that basic digital infrastructure is the point zero, the foundation that we have to establish today or next year, just in future, to ensure the progress of digitalization in other sectors. Without proper access to internet, without equipment, without digital services, without digital literacy, we can't talk about any quantum leaps. Therefore, right now, we stress on that a lot. So also, we actively today pilots various solutions and projects just to test what is effective, what is not, what actually works for big communities, for small ones, for cities, towns, and villages and regions. And we actively cooperate with various stakeholders and with power bodies, with donors, with business, and we encourage you to cooperate, because we truly believe that only within the synergy we can get some proper result. Another thing I'd like to talk about is that we work on so many concept strategies and standards. We plan to publish and present in the beginning of 2022, as we truly we don't want actually to reach a point where we have a whole bunch of solutions in various towns and regions and communities. Just pick the solutions, they later can't harmonize to each other's and ensure that cooperation. So we want to have interoperability. Therefore, today, with a team of experts, we tried to design a whole bunch of legislative acts, and of course we will share these drafts and we will put it for the public discussions. So the next slide. Recently, with the support of the Malika Institute, Swiss Institute, we've launched a research. It actually gave us an answer to the question, what should be done for our communities and towns to become digitalized? It was a big research, deep, in-depth research. You can find the results at our portal, but if briefly we analyze the results, the following slide, so we should say that the biggest problem, three things are there. So first, human capital, so lack of specialists, local specialists. It's really hard to find people who would like to be involved in digital transformation at regional local level. So a separate area for us are the educational programs to train people and later to integrate directly in the system. But when you need to find a person today, it's almost impossible because not so many of these specialists we have in the pool, and we have to generate strategic solution for it. This is problem number one. It's not about the budget. It's not about a ready-made infrastructure. It's about human capital. It's about staff. The second thing is communication between central power bodies and local governance. And also some bureaucratic stuff that should be simplified or eliminated totally to accelerate communication. And the third one is communication, articulation and presentation of successful cases, of success stories. These are truly important, on many of them, but communities must be motivated with something to move forward. Quite soon we'll present the results of the survey launched together with ULEAD. I'd like to express my gratitude to the project, and we want to present the results. So the survey took place in more than 100 communities. This will be a benchmark for us regarding the key needs in the context of digital transformation, and I do hope that this month we'll already be able to publish it. Okay. Okay, let's find the proper slide. So the key vectors of the ministerial activity, please. The key vectors. Thank you. So we would separate it in three vectors. First one related to institutional capacity enhancing and building strong teams in regions, towns, and communities. So we call it 25 plus 38 plus 1,400. That's how many people we need to integrate. And in this context, we talk about the availability of such positions, availability of teams, programs of informatization, budgets to implement these projects. In particular, to train the teams, to create extra project offices if necessary, to accelerate the processes. The separate block is for training, systemic fundamental training, and upskilling or reskilling for existing specialists. And we also launch a big community where we want to create special communication platforms for donors and specialists. And also within this context, we plan and we started to cooperate with associations, helping us to promote the digital transformation in communities. Second vector regarding the national projects. Therefore, all the subventions, for example, for internet, for laptops, for administrative centers, started functioning this year and will continue this practice. And also it relates to DIA ecosystem projects. Third one is analytics and projects. Apart from a huge piece of analytical work that takes place in the team, the surveys and research we are about to complete, and we also have the digitalization index to be presented in 2022 for communities, and we want to update the portal DIA Digital Community, where we have new modules, marketplace, and digital solutions for communities to quickly pick the projects and solutions they need. Also, the roadmaps for communities and so much other useful information. I understand I'm taking a lot of time, but I'll try to do it faster. And we also want to cooperate with digital. CSO which basically it helps us to look for digital transformers in the regions. We launched a portal, by the way, where we select and recruit people who want to work in that area of digital transformation. So many good cases we do have. Just I can briefly tell you that we've actually checked the format of the regional office of digital transformation. This is a great format, we can see, because the project offices, as we call them, these can help us to accelerate the project implementation and optimize the whole resource that we have. So in Cherkasy, we have the case. Maybe next time I can tell you more. In 4 months, we've launched more than 10 projects, pilot projects launched. The report will be published in December. The whole country may actually take those practices to use. So, Mariana, I have a couple of slides, but I definitely see that I took a lot of time. Therefore, I pass the floor to you. Valeria, actually, you can take a couple of slides. You do have time for it if you do have a wish. Please. Yes, I do. Sorry. I'm just a little bit paranoid with the time. So, the next slide. The digital Cherkasy experience. Today, within 4 months of the project office existence, I just want to show you the results that we have. So, what is the most interesting thing? It is interesting that this project office is joining the efforts of donors and business and merging the town and the whole region in the area of digital transformation. When we have projects to be implemented simultaneously for the town and for the region, project office comes on board. They help to optimize the time, human resource, and in fact, sometimes the financial resource. Respectively, in this case, within this period, the project office was incorporated in the approach to support the digital transformation, to ensure the digital literacy, also to implement a bunch of pilot projects. I'm sorry, but the connection is breaking. So the high-speed Wi-Fi for hospitals, telemedicine projects. So these virtual visits that we managed to organize quite quickly within the most popular tourist sites together with Google. And also a project on digital transformation in environmental area, monitoring the pollution level. With the support of the partners, and also Safe School pilot project that we had together with partners. Also, a special course for children with disabilities and autists. For specific educational establishments, we've launched that as well as a pilot, thanks to digital technologies. And right now, at the final stage, we have the process of approval for the concept of smart street. I think in 2022 we will already implement it in this city. So, a lot of projects out there being processed, but truly it's great. What can a team consisting of a couple of managers, what they can do within these months? If we had that speed in each region and community, I think we would have moved faster and faster. So that's why we want to cooperate with the CDTOs even in a more enhanced format in 2022. So please do pick various formats to make it more effective.
So basically, yeah, there's a couple of more things that I wanted to mention about the ecosystem of the DIA projects. Maybe you have been watching us for the very first time. That will be the next slide. I'm almost at the end of my presentation. You might know, next slide, please. That's in the framework of the DIA project and in the framework of the DIA ecosystem projects, we have that more than 9 million of Ukrainians have already used. We have an international educational platform, DIA Osvita. We have the DIA City project, the first virtual business of our country, and the DIA Business for the development of entrepreneurship. By the way, yesterday we have received an award from the Union of Ukrainian Entrepreneurs for the development of entrepreneurship, and that might have been been the very first award that the ministry, any kind of ministry, has received for the development of this direction. And it was really pleasant for us that the entrepreneurs, they outlined the importance of these projects. And basically, in the business framework, we already have many multiple entrepreneurs all over the country, and we do hope that next year we'll be able to change this result as well and to once again replicate this result. And in our CDTOs, they're also going to be involved in introduction of the certain projects for on the platform in their locations, if I can say that. Please, the next slide. And if you have some ideas, offers, some critique, we're always open to different kind of advice and offers. So that's all from my side. Please, Mariana, the floor is yours. Yes, thank you, Valeria. Very fast, very clear, and very informative. Thank you very much. And while you were talking, we even had the questions in the chat, and having this opportunity, because I know that you also might leave us in a minute, I would like to voice out those questions, the questions from one of our participants. There are some problems when people do not understand the importance of the digitalization from the heads of the community. For example, the services are being implemented just for you to close the checkpoints, but they're not being used properly. And whether these digital leaders will have some authorities to introduce some of the services like the e-democracies. A slightly provocative question. Well, yes, the question is slightly provocative. You know, we're not going to give you the clear yes or no whether we have some legislative opportunities or responsibility for that, because, you know, I don't have this opportunity to say about that. But basically, we also have the decentralization reform, and we cannot push it forward on every community. We cannot push it forward, the digital transformation, as the main vector for the development, because basically it should be the choice of the community, whether they need that or no. The next thing is that if you do not jump on this train, then in 2023, that it will be too late. The whole world is digitalizing, and whatever sector you consider right now, education, economy, whatever you consider, if you don't have the basic digital literacy and you do not know how to work with IT and you do not know how to work in online environment, you will not be really competitive at the labor market. Your business will not be very successful, or the community is not going to be open enough, transparent enough in business making, and it will not be able to work in the fastest way. So that is why we're currently working on providing the standards and introducing the services. And I can actually give you 1,000% guarantee that this kind of recommendations and this kind of roadmaps are going to be created, and they're going to be created in a very fast pace. This will be the first quarter next year, and you'll be able to use them already. Speaking about saying that at the legislative level, then that is an open question, and we're going to be discussing it later on as well in the next year and year and a half for sure. So I guess that would be the answer that I can give. Yes, thank you very much, Valeria. So we can rephrase it. So the most important is the interest from the side of the community. As far as I understand, the Ministry of the Digital Transformation will do everything for provide the best support for those processes. The desire, the impulse is the most important thing in this case. Yes, right you are. Okay, but Valeria, while you're still with us, I would like to give you next question. You have said that at the regional level, we already have the CDTO, the Deputies on Digital Transformation. But what about the heads of the communities? How can they start to collaborate on the local level and at the level of region? How they can, what they can have, how they can, what kind of benefits they can receive on this collaboration? Thank you, Maria, for this question, because I do believe that this question is even more important for us, but not for the person who has written this question in first place. As I've already said, you know, we have 14 regional CDTOs, and there are some of them as well who have still been appointed. And I would already recommend all of the digital leaders in the communities to make sure understand whether you have the CDTO already. And if you already have them, then you should address them with some of your initiatives. The CDTOs that have already been working, they have already organizing some educational events, and they're going to be teaching you, giving you the plans, helping you with the implementation of the plans. But in case that you do not have this contact yet. So please do not be ashamed of actually contacting us and make this first contact with your CDTO. If you do not have a CDTO that hasn't been yet appointed into your region, because we have this kind of regions where we still have the situation in place, please do not be shy of actually giving us a sign, and we'll be able to understand who is doing these functions, and we're going to give you the direct contact for the direct communication. Moreover, next year, and that is going to be the main spoiler, we're going to launching the mechanisms of support for the community. And this support is going to be based on this Q&As, on introduction of the services that are available. And you're going to have a precise phone numbers for the people that you can call so that you would receive any kind of advice, any kind of help or support in case of you're doing the digital transformation. Thank you. Thank you, Valeria. You mentioned a lot about people and you've said that you have to work with people. And I see that you are in ministry, you're working for the people, for you're helping out the people. There's a lot of things that we have to wait for your news and your new ideas. And I do hope that we will be able to implement some of the ideas to next year. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. I promise you, you will not have to wait long. Okay, dear colleagues, so that was a very good time for us to take a look at the results of our research, because around 15 minutes ago we have asked you, what does that mean, digital transformation, what it is for you? And you could add up any kind of words, any kind of association that you have. It is important for us to know what do you think about that and to see the results. Please, let's take a look at the screen. So what do we have? We see development, we see the scientific progress, we also see the introduction of the different databases. We also see the country in the smartphone. That was a nod to Valeria. We also see the e-document flow, the digitalization, accessibility in this case, and you can see the data, you can see comfortable, you can see equality, and we can see inclusion. And that is why I would like to pass the floor to our international friend, Donat Magyari. What is digital transformation for you?
Thank you, Mariana, and thank you for the mini poll. Actually, to me, digital transformation starts around here. What we have seen in this mini poll, I mean, managing perception. Because towards digital transformation, there are a lot of perceptions. And here we have seen basically three groups of key expressions. One was concerning principles and basic benefits, what digital transformation might mean. And, but on the other hand, also, we have seen the user perspective. What is the demand towards digital transformation? And the third group, of course, we have seen technical related expressions. And we need to manage those type of perceptions. And when we are talking about digital transformation, to some people it might sound scary. I don't know if you are familiar with the movie Transformers, where giant machines take the form of sports car, and then they transform themselves into gigantic war machines.
Ви добре описали моє
життя.
Yeah,
or Terminator, if you like.
І мені було страшно, коли я дивилася цей фільм.
So it's really scary. It might be scary. And when we are talking about digital transformation, we always tend to talk too much about the technology side of it. I think, especially if we are talking about digital transformation at local level, we need to understand that it's also at least 50% or even more. It's a social innovation, how people interact, collaborate with each other, and because of that, we need to manage perception as this is the first step. I was so happy to hear Valeria mentioning that there's no quantum leap. Because in some people think about digital transformation as a big bang, one-time thing that it would immediately change our life. You might experience this during COVID, that your life was changed immediately. But if you think about it a bit more, then it just took certain processes to the virtual and then online environment, but still that's not that significant change. So I think with digital transformation, you don't have to think at local level at those big bang things. The big bang things was done by the ministry. That's my impression. I would encourage the responsible authorities and experts to start the process, start experimenting, even if it's not 100% sure what you would get at the end. I encourage them to start it. Let's take the approach from the startup world. When, the startuppers, they come out with a product in beta version, it's, not even ready, but they are starting to collect user feedbacks, and then they improve it. Then again, another round of feedback collection, and then they further improve it. And this startup approach we can use here. We start with something, people will react on that, and then we'll get their feedback. So this is my initial approach towards this topic.
Дякую, Донате. І я знаю, що ви заготували для нас невеличкий виступ, слайди, тому передаю слово повноцінно.
Yes, I know, Donat. I know we have a presentation, so I would like to pass the floor fully to you for your presentation.
Thank you, and thank you for the translation. Now I can hear that. I have technology here. So I made the introduction, so I'm going forward ahead. A couple of ideas. Where do we start? I guess I touched upon this, so we can go ahead. I did not want to compete with your mini poll, but also if you can see the slides, by the end of my brief intro, I would like to come back to the fact that if this is a sci-fi thing, or if this is a myth, or what should we do with this? Again, as it was mentioned, technology is there as national level initiatives or regional initiatives, or even very, very cheap and accessible solutions there are on the market. And I think we can consider it as a given environment. And here there are some examples that what you can do with the technology. And the key point here is not that, okay, you have broadband access and stuff like that, but what you do with that. Even I just heard that in Ukraine, in remote areas, broadband access is pretty good. The coverage is pretty good even in remote places. But the key question is what kind of services you start on that. So that's an important point. And here I would like to mention a key factor, which is around motivation and drive for the responsible person. It's just, I think it's not enough to have something which is nice to have. Okay, let's have a digital transformation project because it's so nice to have. No, this drive won't be enough. You need much deeper motivation. It can be a pain. It really can be a pressing need, fighting the consequences of COVID, how it changed our lives. It was painful to a certain extent, but it was drive enough to do certain changes. So you need to have a proper drive. Just nice to have, it's not good enough. Let's go ahead with this. Also, you need to build a kind of digital culture around this. You need to understand that it changes how people interact with each other. For example, this format of the conference, we can involve, I think, much more participants from much wider audience. Also, in terms of the speakers, we are able to reach out. We are able to share the content, and this is the way how the culture is changing around digital transformation. On the slides, you can see some well-thought ideas, but actually on Vox Ukraine website, a follow-up article will be published on that. So I don't go into the details that much. Instead of that, I brought here some concrete examples, what can we do, for example, with data. One example is data cooperatives. The visual is coming from Australia, but don't be shocked. Don't be shocked. It's it's not that scary thing. Even in Germany, they have data cooperatives. It's not very complicated to create a regulatory environment for that. You just need to figure out that what can you do with shared data. It can have business applications, of course, but for such things, even in public sector, in local administrations, you can start thinking around that. And again, I link back to previous slides where you need to create this culture around digital transformation. So you need to bring in people who are willing to participate in that, and not necessarily just from the municipality, but also from the local communities, and I will come back to that. You might say that in Ukraine, at the local level, you don't have data, or very limited amount of data you have. Okay, then I brought to you a Ukrainian startup example, Cityscale it's called. Hopefully their website is functioning, at least at this moment. What they did is that they started to collect data from the users. They recognized that there's not enough data at local level, so they started to collect the data from the user and put it together the platform where you can check the pollution and the noise levels in Ukrainian settlements and all kinds of other real estate related parameters. So it's very informative for example, for a foreigner, where you should locate yourself in Ukraine, where's the quality of life is the highest. So you can start involving the user, and then you can gather data if you don't have it. Okay, again, here about, again, changing the perception, how we orient ourselves towards digital transformation. At local level, I think it's crucial to find, let's call them digital ambassadors. People who are advocating this approach. It can be a local blogger or journalist or an NGO or a business person who is significant in that community. They can take that role. It does not have to be necessarily a formal role. It just, you need to find some person who is willing to do such things. In Bulgaria, for example, in Sofia, I know it's a big city, but still the story is relevant, I think, to a local level. They transformed a public library into a digital center. So I guess there are public libraries throughout the country, and you can transform it to digital centers. And then they also involved elderly people to train them how to use online solutions and mobile applications. And sometimes even the trainers were coming from old age pensioners or from elderly people who were open to learn the new technology. And then they taught and still teaches other fellow citizens how to use these technologies. So again, what is important here that we need to change the mindset here. And I guess this is my final slide for food of thoughts. We need to take into account that there are different user types. And when we are designing local public services on digital format, we need to take into account what kind of user you would like to serve. Of course, the principle is that we are serving everyone, but the reason I think, for example, the ministry received that award from the business community, that development of service was demand-driven. They were reflecting on a very pressing need coming from the community, and with such kind of personas, you can define how you want to serve them. So these would be my ideas. And if you ask me about trends, what's going on in Europe, I would say that the thinking is towards that direction, that, for example, how they are able to share census data coming from the census statistical data collection, how to share it with the people. They are doing even so-called score retelling, that they themselves explain the census data, what are the trends, what's going on. They make data visualizations towards people to convey even the government's or the local government's messages. So it's also another tool to communicate with your community. And I think that technology is there. Already in the smartphones, there are machine learning algorithms, or you can call it artificial intelligence if you like. So technology is just there. The key question is that, how you want to serve your local community with that. But I will be happy to answer any further questions.
Знаєте, мені дуже дякую, пане Донате. Мені дуже сподобалося, як ви закінчили. Ви сказали...
Thank you. Thank you. I loved the way you finished. The most important thing is to understand how can you be useful for your community. So, being useful for your people, so helping your people. This is truly the basis of local self-governance function. This is what we've been discussing today and yesterday. And I know that we'll have a Q&A session, but a question. You work with companies, you worked with governments, with local authorities. What is the key challenge? What the key challenge you face when you work with private companies or state enterprises who actually want to transform digitally, briefly? Just the key challenge in your work.
Yeah, you are right pointing out that key challenges, it's never easy to identify, because there are so many challenges. Because we want a transition, we want to transform things, so obviously there are challenges. If I need to pick one challenge, then the challenge would, I can, let's say, name it like digital only. What do I mean by this? It means that if we are keeping the same processes what we are having right now, we just put it in a digital format, then it's an issue. This is a challenge. We need to first change the way how we do things. We need to reorganize the processes, and only then start digitalization. Because it's very easy to fall into this trap that, okay, we have certain procedures, we have certain institutions, we have certain hierarchies, and we just put everything into digital. No, it's not transformation. It's just digitalization, which might be the first step, but here we are very ambitiously talking about transformation. So this is really a key challenge, that how to explain and make people understand that you need to rethink.
Дуже дякую. І саме, напевно, що навіть неволею ви зробили дуже гарний перехід до нашого наступного.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You actually helped us to have a smooth transition to another speaker. I will ask Mr. Gursky to tell us how to digitalize services. And so many things he'll mention that Mr. Donat mentioned as well. So please, Victor, how can we approach the designing, service design, when we digitalize? What challenges did you have in your work? Thank you, Ms. Mariana. Thank you, dear listeners, dear viewers, and I'm so grateful to stay with you today. It's really pleasant. So many nice ideas we already heard. Mr. Magari already drew a parallel line between startups and digitalization, and I can relate to that. Why I can? Because our organization is dealing not with digitalization at regional level, but also the innovative entrepreneurship development. And in particular, we have such project as Startup Development Center in Mariupol, tightly cooperating with our local council, city council, just to bring the IT community closer to local authorities and to analyze the needs which can be covered by local IT community when we speak about digitalization, by providing chatbots, designing chatbots, even the cemetery management system. We know in Mariupol we have the biggest cemetery actually in Europe, and it's a very specific story, but it again requires digitalization as well in the such area. So I'd like to tell you about our experience with the communities, and I want to tell you of how What are the obstacles that communities do face in implementation of IT solutions? And what results and what lessons are learned? So, the Social Boost organization is known with a couple of flagship products. So, public budget automatization system, 1 million users per month, DOSVIT system, a comprehensive system for small communities. It allows to actually create a local portal or website, to use various applications, to incorporate them for the management and for the citizens all in one place. A 1991 project that I mentioned already, and the Startup Development Center in eastern Ukraine, which allows us to ensure cooperation between local authorities and IT community. So, we currently work with approximately 100 of amalgamated communities in Ukraine, and we have three specific areas, three pillars that actually all the problems are based on. So, three key problems for regional digitalization. And I think these should be solved step by step, these problems. So, capacity building, creating a strategy, and of course implementing digital tools. Those tools which are used by people, I mean the community managers or the inhabitants directly. So, concerning the capacity building, the first problem that there is in the community, so human capital, Valeria Onan mentioned that, and the qualification level. In Ukraine, it's like we have approximately 200,000 of IT specialists, but we know that in Europe, 1 million of IT specialists, they do lack today, a huge gap. So to compete with private sector, well, in the context of attracting the IT specialists, well, it's really a hard task, but a good news is that capacity building in the area of training or educational activity, this aim to requalify and upskilling that Valeria mentioned. Requalification, upskilling is possible today. We can see that communities truly want to get the knowledge because we hold seminars on content management for the communities, and every time, quarterly, we have approximately 100 council staff from the communities. So, our joint project with the Ministry of Regional Development and Ministry of Digital Transformation, this course, fully available at DIA Digital Education portal. 3,000 of state managers and state employees already took part in that course. What does it tell us about? Even if we don't have specific IT specialists, highly qualified, we have people who really want to know more. We have people who want to be involved in that process, who want to digitalize by just getting extra knowledge. Speaking about capacity, yes, we do talk about the budgetary, financial capacity. The key problem today is to launch the digitalization processes in communities, small communities with 10,000 people, and budgets just 30 million. That's it. But even if we take 1% out of that budget for digitalization and actually prioritize the digitalization, trying to attract money, get it like from international donors community, this is possible still. This is still possible. Even for such small communities, it's possible. With 5,000 people, it's still feasible. So the second part, of course, this strategy development. And for me, it seems that if we want to start any strategic process, of course, primarily we need to have political will for it. And political will which is not just the political will of one person, but something that is supported by all local authorities, by everyone at all levels. We must have this synergy, and when the public is involved in strategic aspects designing. So if we do talk about IT strategy, some communities take the strategy as something separate, something isolated, you know, and something which is not absolutely related to other processes. But we do understand that digitalization, in English, we have this word cross-cutting. So it's a cross-cutting issue. It's like a red thread that connects everything. You know, even if we say that in communities the key priority is agricultural industry. Okay, agriculture and its development. Okay, we need to digitalize this. Therefore, the community must collect data related to land use and land processing and agricultural processes, and they require some tools to manage their land resources better and their assets eventually. So the third pillar I'd like to talk about is the digital tools. Again, I'll go back to previous speakers. Valeria underlined an important thing, that in Ukraine we may create a certain pool or a whole zoo of IT solutions. And it's not a problem, but the communities must have understanding and they must be aware of how to prioritize the solutions, what to pick, how to use this very specific tool, the tool that the community needs, which would be effective like in a year, in 2, 3. If we do talk about the document flow system, in the market we have a couple of solutions on how to certain systems that can be launched. And not all of these can really be adapted to all communities. You may invest once in a system and update it instead of buying a system which is, it may be expensive, you will pay for it, but it will not 100% match your needs. So, other thing I'd like to mention concerning the IT tools, the cloud solutions. Today, especially in small communities, we do have the stereotype that IT is too expensive and all digital tools is about a lot of money and we can't find the money. But today, with the support of the cloud solutions and with providers who generate various solutions, we have the PPP format very popular, by the way, and of course the private sector should be involved to digitalization. Thanks to this, actually communities can pay small amounts of money for the system maintenance. They don't need a whole team of IT specialists to create new solutions, and this must be articulated to communities, of course. I'd like to present a couple of success stories to you on how did we manage to create our systems, build our systems for communities. The first thing that we did, of course, we used the principle of involvement. We used the design thinking, and we involved managers from local governance bodies to create IT solutions. They prototyped it. They thought of the functions they needed. And when we designed the system of public budget, we involved so many representatives of public, those people who were like the final beneficiaries for the system, and they made so many inputs. They really shared their vision on what is convenient, what is not, what is user-friendly, and it is clearly seen this parallel line between IT tools and startups. It's an evolutionary process which has to take place with the involvement of IT communities, state managers, just average inhabitants, let's say, of a settlement. And I just wanted to show the last slide how communities are involved. Okay, we can see that they create certain profiles of individuals using the products, users I mean. They create these feature lists, so the list of certain functions, and thanks to that we can actually state that 1 million of users we already do have using the public budget system, and DOSVIT platform that helps towns and cities to launch their portals. 89% of people, they do enter the portal at least once per month, by the way. And for example, 20% out of these people, they enter the portal to see the documents, check the documents. That's why in DOSVID system we have a document registry. And it allows you not just to search for some papers, but it allows the manager to upload 200 documents with all the data, with metadata, with authorized persons, 200 documents in 20 minutes. Whoa, that optimizes the process a lot. It actually minimizes the cost for maintenance of the system, its management, and it allows people to use the system with maximum convenience. What I just want to finish with, an idea that popped up in my head, that digitalization, I do think it's really similar to the process of vaccination against COVID-19. It's definitely something we will have to do, but this is something that should not be a forced process, and only on the basis of gradual high-quality communication. We need to communicate this properly to people. Thank you, Victor. I just want, upon the occasion, to tell you that we don't wear masks in studios because we are fully vaccinated, and respectively, all the speakers are as well. Yeah, and everybody made the tests. So, thank you. Thank you for this wonderful presentation, because you are the third speaker who mentions people. I was afraid that this panel discussion will start talking about tools, metadata, big data, all that stuff, but we've been talking for an hour almost about people. And this is really cool, because this is my favorite topic, talking about human potential, development of this potential, and human resource. I'd like now to pass the floor to our Deputy Minister, Alexander Dudchenko. So, Alexander, a personal question I'll start with. And you are one of those digital leaders. You've been in the central government for a year and a half. What was your motivation to become a CDTO? Why did you want to start the process in the Ministry of Regional Development? Thank you, Mariana, for this truly personal question and quite a frank question. Okay. I've seen this window of opportunities to be useful in a place where I have certain experience and even expertise, where I can, change something, and where I can feel the changes, make them palpable. And by the way, if you talk about people, today we cooperate with business, IT business, I mean, for international market, let's say, and so many specialists are really interested how useful they can be for their state, what they can do. They are ready. They are ready also to accelerate these transformations. They are ready to relate to that process. Because within the last couple of years, we've all actually got that feeling. We now all feel what digital transformation can give us. We all feel how convenient online services are. We feel it. It's pretty tangible, and I do believe that so many of state officials and managers, they see the same effectiveness, they observe this effectiveness, and they confirm how effective the digital transformation is, because this process is not just about digital tools. Primarily, it's about innovative approach. It's about decision-making backed with data, with facts, with evidence. IT tools, of course, are an important component, but it's only like 20% of importance in the whole process for the tools. Therefore, I do hope that I'll be fully capable of actually using my knowledge, and I do hope that so many people with the same values will be involved.
And I do understand that, of course, it will not last forever, because we are all here temporarily guests. But I do understand that this is about promoting the change and launching the change, making the change happen. So, using this opportunity, I would like to also address our audience, not to be afraid of that. So everything is possible. Have faith in yourself. If you're ready for the changes, if you're ready to dedicate your time to become the part of this really wide-scale process of digitalization and digital transformation in Ukraine. So we're all really open to that. We're open in the Ministry of Digital Transformation. We have the CDTOs in the regions and all over the Ukrainian cities. So the most important thing for us to be proactive as to join our community. Yes, thank you. And I will pass the floor to you. And now it's your time to present your presentation, please. Yes, I was really nervous when I was also writing the CDTO for the for the regions, and with the help of my colleague, well, you have also explained us what the CDTO means, so the Chief Digital Transformation Officers of the region, and it's all about the results. And I think that Valeria can feel this results from what is going to be shown on the screen right now. So today we have spoken a lot about the strategy. And yes, we know that the strategy for the regional development has been approved for the next 7 years, and the biggest part of this strategy has been dedicated to the issues of digital transformation and digitalization. At this very moment, currently, we have the processes of creating the regional strategies for the digitalization and with local strategies that will be also approved that will be approved locally, the digital transformation, digitalization programs, and as far we have already had some of the announcements made today. I really would like to thank the ULEAD program as well, because right now we're working on the tool that will help us to make all of the strategies interactive and to get them published on the one unified resource. So that will not only be these documents that are very complex, that are really hard not only to be controlled or measured by the results, that's going to be a unified tool that will give us the opportunity to, first of all, to step out on the metrics and indicators that will be included into the strategies, to have each and every project to be including this metric so that we will be able to understand how this project has influenced for the reach of certain goals that have been stated in the strategy. Another point was a very interesting historical legacy that we've had as well. We have seen that in the process when some strategies have been created, but they haven't fully covered. But then we have the new people coming up, the new managers coming up, and they're having developing the new strategy. So having this digital tool, we want to provide this legacy. We want to provide this continuancy to the overall processes, and we want to have the transparent tracking. One of the other moments when in the Ministry of Regions we've had the CDTO position developed, we have started to develop the strategy for the digital transformation of the region that have been targeting the three main goals. First of all, we're speaking about the capacity building for the ministry itself, and we're talking about the overall all-state projects of the digital transformation for the sectors that we bear our responsibility as the Ministry of Regional Development, and the national transformation and the national digital projects, because the Ministry of Regional Development is responding for the regional development overall. So we would like to track those activities as well. I would like to give you some information on the third direction of those that I've mentioned, and you might see the very same construction there as well. So the digital infrastructure building for our regions and for our communities, building the digital capacities and literacy that we have been discussing a lot, and introducing those nationwide projects that have been launched and have been seen in the different governmental offices and institutions. We have launched the portal where you can take a look at all of those changes. And further on in the presentation, I'm going to mention what are the projects that the Ministry of Regional Development is currently responsible for. But what is very important, the users of our centralized systems, in most of the cases, they're located in the regions, they're located in the communities itself. And the communities, they will be able to work with those systems. So that is very important, so they would understand the overall change horizon. And sometimes it is important for them to be ready for that as well. And so they will not replicate, would not copy, or would not copy the same changes, would not do the same work twice if it's being done by the central government. So we're trying to improve this process of communication, but we're trying to help the communities to navigate all of those changes currently happening. And as the experience has shown, when we're talking with the communities, they might not be aware that, for example, there will be a unified address book that will be created, or there's going to be some kind of a reform on the energy efficiency that is going to be happening. They might not be aware of that, and they are spending their resources to make something locally, something of the same quality and of the same ideas. So they're looking for some of the solutions, but they are not able to study all the available information, and they do not understand. They lose out that these changes are going to happen on the state level. And the third direction for us is the regional project in digitalization, and we have discussed it already for quite a long time. We have seen that there are very interesting changes happening, and we have seen that there are some really effective projects of digitalization in our communities that are currently happening. And today we're going to be discussing those issues, in what way we can scale them up horizontally for the other territories as well. Because sometimes some of the communities they address us, the communities who are searching for a certain solution, and they might not be aware that they have the neighboring communities that sometimes maybe in their regions some of the communities were already able to resolve the problem that are really bothering their neighbors. And you can use this solution already adapted to your reality. So you can just replicate the solution that your neighbors have already done. It will be much easier than to start finding the solution for your problem from that spot. What else we are offering to empower this process? We are offering the resources. We have this organization that is called the Office for the Regional Digital Development. This is the office that has supported, resource-wise, supported the communication and the best and monitoring of the best practices. And there is different tools like Marketplace or the best practice portal that Valeria has mentioned about already. Some of them have already been launched. But the most important thing is about the content, about the stories to share. You know, the digital tools are not that hard to make as those results that we will have to publish there and that we will have to teach how to use the proper way. And very frequently, our colleagues from the regions, they are addressing us with additional questions of what should we introduce first of all, how can we find the budget for the implementation, that is one of the most popular questions, and how can we avoid making the same mistakes? Because the people who are doing something for the very first time, they might be mistaking, they might be up for some certain mistakes. That's something that causes them to spend additional resources. And here in this case, the experience that some other people have might help them out and might preserve them. The main goal for the office is to create and to scale up those experiences that we have. Speaking about what creation is, we should study in what way those communities has got up to those changes. Because as we have already said, the digital tools is only about 10 or 20% throughout from all of the practices, and we're going to be discussing what are the components to that. So we have to have this all of the ecosystem there. Starting from these problems that have been formulated and felt, we have to analyze all of the regulatory acts, all of the decisions made by the local councils, and all of the IT tools. They have to be synchronized. And we have to provide the continuity of the use of those tools. And we have to provide the legacy when the government is going to be changed. So that is what we're talking about when we are talking about searching for the best practices in our communities. Later on, when it's all going to be studied and systemized, it's going to be much easier to replicate for the other communities and for the other territories. Okay, we're not going to stop with the offered structure. And I just wanted to emphasize here that we're engaging the Ministry of Digital Transformation in this case, the Ministry of Regional Development, and the local administrations as well. So there is this community that we have mentioned multiple times today. Speaking on the practices itself, the success stories, and by the way, the economical models are the very important issues about for us, because right now we are advising all of the communities to pay the additional attention for the economical changes, because those economical changes are going to provide you with additional resources that you might use for the next changes to come. For this process, after our successful decentralization process, we have received a lot of communities. We have some really wealthy, capable communities, but we have some smaller communities, but with really lots of initiatives implemented there. We have a lot of communities that are mostly targeted for the agriculture or targeted for some other activities. So we have conducted a research, and we want to have the research completed by December, and we had really opportunity to decide what are the changes that are going to be the most important for the communities. Like, for example, as an example, the system of a document flow. Some community will apply their own system. Some communities, for some communities, it will be okay to use the SIS systems. Some of the communities and some of the regions will provide their communities with the access to the centralized e-document flow. So in this case, we have to find this joint solution, the one that's going to be found, and it's for this solution to be corresponding to the opportunities and the needs for the community that is going to use it. What does it leave us with? It gives us, first of all, the really powerful and strong consolidation of resources, because when the communities are getting together, they're starting to be more effective in using their budgets. I would like to give you a very quick example from Denmark, where 98 municipality has got together, created a company that is right now the main client and the main executor of the municipal IT solutions. Not all of the solutions are being provided and supplied by this company, but as far as I remember, the 13 main IT solutions that are used by the municipalities have been developed, have been created by this company, and it would be much more effective that if each municipality would have actually provided it on their own. So 98 municipalities of Denmark are all municipalities in Denmark. So in this case, we're speaking about this unified position and working on the unified goal in order to consolidate resources and to use resources wisely. We have also spoken about some certain base of solutions. The more unified solutions they will use, the better and the easier it's going to be. Create some complementary add-ons later on, because this is like an unspoken standards. When you have two solutions integrated, then you can use that in a fast pie. You can use it as a puzzle. You can get all of the ecosystems united and combined. So that's very important, so that the data would be consolidated with one another. That will provide a high-quality process of decision-making based on existing data. And I wanted to say in this case that one of our goals and one of our main aims as a ministry is to provide the communities the access to the data. Because unfortunately, there's a lot of time that we have seen that the communities, they don't have the access to the data that are dramatically important for the communities to make certain decisions, the taxes, the land, multiple other registers that are closed for the communities, even though that which is interesting that basically this information is needed for the people who are located in these territories, but they don't have the high quality access to this information and they cannot use this data for making their own managing decision. And as I've already said, trying to be very brief about those projects that the Ministry of Region has been developing, we have the projects and policies on the bridge construction, on the management of the utility services, on the energy efficiency. We have the questions in the programs on regional policies, and each of those directions we have a really big, powerful regional projects. Some of them have already been working, and I have presented some of the projects that are going to be launched soon. So it is very important that the CDTO in regions or CDTO in the cities, and all of the other professionals who might be interested in that, for them to learn what is it that the local self-governance are doing, not to duplicate those processes, and to be ready that this functionality is going to be available for them soon, to get synchronized in their plans and to be very effective in using those results that have been already introduced by the ministries and in other institutions of the central government. Thank you. Thank you very much. And you've mentioned it a couple of times, and that it's important not to duplicate something that has already been done, and it's important not to redevelop something that has already been developed. How can you find this information of what are you developing right now? Do you have a resource that people from the community can take a look at what is going to be developed? And for communities to know that I should wait for a couple of weeks, and then we'll have a centralized offered solutions. Yes, we have a resource where we have collected 94 projects on the digital transformation from all of the regions of Ukraine. It has been presented by the Vice Prime Minister Mikhailo Fedorov. It is in open access, and there is that project actually provides some data and some of our upcoming plans. So first of all, I would like to offer you to take a look at that site, at this resource. On the other hand, I would like to ask you to communicate with your CDTOs at the regional levels. We're always open for communication, and we're always trying to communicate with the CDTOs of different levels to provide a more detailed analysis of what is going on. You know, not always our plans not always we can go through the terms that we are offering. So, you know, sometimes we're not able to do that in time. But what is very important is that we have to go in studying those processes. There's a lot of information available, and I would like to advise you to communicate as much as possible just for us to be able to know what is going on. Okay, you know, we have discussed it for an hour that these processes and digital processes are really important, but the live communication and people are important as well. Very important. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting closer to our end of our session, and I know we have discussed a lot about the ideas and resources, but I would like to close our question with a question to each one of you. Valeria and all of us, we have all mentioned that the main problem and the main challenge for us is to find people, to find good digital leaders, the leaders that are going to be ready to introduce changes, to be the part of the change that is happening, and to become the drivers for the digital transformation. I would like to ask each one of you, and I would like to start with Donuts. What are the qualities that those digital leaders should have? We can just list us one or two traits of character so for us to understand who should we looking for.
Sitting right next to you.
Це я знаю. Це я знаю.
Yeah, I mean, I won't give you a full profile. What is important that, and linking back to those methodology where you have design thinking, honestly, I myself contacted several design thinking sessions, and here the key thing is that you are able to step out of your current role and just imagine a future role. Who are able to do such thing, then for those type of people, I would not say that yeah, they need to know this type of IT knowledge or that type of things. No, it can be very easily learned. You know, there are certain e-learning platforms or several applications for that. So that knowledge you can bring in, but that quality that you are able to imagine your future role and how you would function at a different level. To me, this would be the most important criteria.
I can sum it up by saying that's like imagination, to be able to imagine, to fantasize, to see yourself in a couple of weeks. Thank you. What will you say as well? For me, I would say that this being a CDTO and being a digital leader, it's a multidisciplinary position. But speaking about this hard skills, this person that has to know a little bit from everything. And I do believe that maybe if we can make an analogy with an IT sector, that will be comparable to the product manager, that you are aware of some basic IT principles and you have this vision of what kind of a final product should look like. Because everyone has already mentioned that digital transformation really relies on communication. So I do believe that this person, not except for being this kind of a technical knowledge that this person should have, you should be, an opinion leader as well, just to communicate those transformative processes in the right way. And I'm sure that you will have to pursue a lot of people a lot of times. Right you are. Yeah, right you are. Alexander, that's going to be the hardest for you, but the easiest for you, because you are the face of the digital transformator. So what would you say? What kind of traits people and digital leaders should have? I do believe that the opportunities, first of all, leadership, because you will have to lead a lot of people. You will have to, inspire them with the understanding that those changes are possible, because we have a certain inertia in our, it has certain inertia, our society tends to be very very inertious, and we understand that there is no way for us to be sure that those changes are actually possible.
We must have this set of value with the sympathy, with compassion, with being result oriented. We have to as well, and let's say to show with our own example, and to sacrifice your time maybe to show people that everything's possible. So these value that join us. So when I talk to my colleagues, at a mental level, it's maybe hard to formulate, and sometimes we do just feel that we are alike, without words. So definitely this is something that gives us motivation. Even if something goes wrong, you talk to your colleagues from other regions and ministries, and with our joint efforts, we always support each other. Quite quickly, we managed to get this horizontal cooperation is really important. Thank you. Thank you, colleagues. I'm so truly grateful for this wonderful hour and almost 20 minutes that we spent together. Thank you so much. And I just want to express gratitude to speakers. Thank you, Valeria. And she left us already. Dear participants, thank you. I do hope this discussion was of huge interest and of huge value to you, and you got some energy and enough of expertise to start digitalizing your communities tomorrow. Just to conclude, digital transformation is a process. It's about social innovation. Therefore, we all have to be very patient. Digital transformation is the word to be stressed in that word combination. It's about people. So we have to transform thinking about people and with people. And what is the future of digital transformation? The future of digital transformation is with those fearless leaders of opinion who actually can create that future. So let's not just create this image in our heads, but let's do something together to make it come true. Okay, in 2 minutes, we're about to start a final session of an international expert exchange. So please, in 2 minutes, don't leave us. We're waiting for you. We'll have Nina Kuriata and also Bastian Fagel.